Hello ratbags, it's Jade, welcome to Grounded 2022. I'm going to take a look at the confirmed features that are going to be coming and the best guess at what could potentially be happening with maybe 3 or 4 major updates to Grounded in 2022. We did this last year and it was pretty spot on. There was only a few bits and bobs that maybe have still slipped and hopefully we'll see completed this year. Also FYI, go and check out my unreleased content video. That's up on my second channel, JCraft, the future home of Grounded. It's pretty much where you can see more in-depth guides, tutorials and gameplay. And right now I've got a video up at the same time as this, showcasing all the unreleased details and features from years of leaks and stuff that I've done. Anyhow, let's get on with this video. So a few things you need to know. The Grounded devs have changed up their update schedule last year and said that content would be coming out roughly every 3 months in terms of big updates with lots of new areas and lots of new things to do. This is a change from the monthly updates they were trying to do. So the last update hit in October. That was a little bit delayed, so it was actually like 3.5 months since the update before. So basically we're looking at maybe the end of February before we get the next update. I say that because it's already getting close to the end of January and we haven't seen any news about the test live servers going live, so it's definitely not going to be launching fully at the end of this month. I do think it's going to be at some point in February. And we know we've got a whole brand new zone to go and explore. These wood piles with huge axe as well as these termites that will shoot some weird goo at you. That seems to do a little bit of damage, but it's also going to slow you down by the looks of things and possibly hinder your sight. The termites look cool. We know from the devlog where they showcased these that they're going to work in packs almost, and they'll be very formidable if you've got a whole bunch of them attacking you. They're not going to be massive creatures and they are modelled basically after the ants, but have been changed and modified so that we've got a new creature with a new ability. This whole area is going to be another dungeon, so it's going to be pretty hard to get through, so you're going to be well prepared and you're going to be getting tier 3 tools and weapons from this area from the bug parts that we find. Now Obsidian also posted this on Twitter recently, and you can see the might at the end looks a bit different from what we've seen in the clips there. So is this going to be a baby version, or is this going to be another version that we're going to find deep in the wood? We've already obviously got the haze infected mites and of course the lore mites. So is this the new model for the mites? Originally I was going to say there's 2 different types of mites, but I don't know. I think this might actually be the new model for what they showed off a month or 2 ago. And using one of the mods that allows you to look at cheats and items not released, we know there's going to be some sort of mite helmet and maybe a chest piece added to the game as well as armor pieces. And it does look likely as well we're going to be using the pieces or the pincers from the termite to make a tier 3 axe. Part of this update also looks like there will be some things to do with the shed. I don't think we're going to be actually venturing into the shed in this update, but it definitely looks like there are some sort of jumping jacks on the shed boardwalk. And I've highlighted this before, that there's some sort of big structure in the background. You can see it's got like these weird little blades on the end of it. Like, what is that? I'm still not 100% certain what it is. In my head, it kind of reminds me a little bit maybe of like some of the laboratories we've seen. So is it a laboratory just standing out on its own? Is it just scenery in the far distance that they've added? This isn't there in the game at the moment if you go and look for it. Obviously, it does look like the bottom near the jacks. We're still going to have the sort of barbecue grill where we go and get our charcoal pieces and stuff. But yeah, I'm still intrigued about what that is in the distance. So, to kickstart the year, a brand new biome to explore, new creatures to go and face off against. After that, I'm guessing we won't get a big update until maybe May or June, and then after that it might be August or September, possibly even October again. Effectively 3 big updates, unless they decide to change things or add stuff again. The Grounded devs have changed and updated their feature board. They've moved things around a little bit and highlighted stuff that may be a bit close to completion. So they're saying here that planned, blue, in progress, story, act 1, graphic options improvements, full completable story, more crafting stations, more quests and more weapons. They've already put that the termite is coming. We're going to get quality of life improvements and inventory management improvements pretty close by as well. And then some way off, we've still got the same stuff that we've had since last year. Additional backyard environments where we had a bunch of them added, additional creatures and insects, weather, backyard changing events. I would consider the spade falling down as one of them, so more stuff like that possibly. Additional crafting materials, blueprints for powered buildings, decorations and higher tier structures, as well as probably some of the most interesting stuff for me, defences and framework for player generated gameplay. Like I said, I'm going to cover more of them defences and features we've not seen added to the game as of yet, or were previously in the game in my video on my second channel. But definitely defences for me is something that's going to really make Grounded almost complete. At the moment, I enjoyed a lot of the content that got added, and it can definitely give fresh players a good run for a long time. But it still does hit a kind of wall where you're left struggling for things to do. If you're continuously thinking about ways to improve your defence to stop bugs from attacking your base, I feel like that would be a really neat feature. So having defences added to the game, I think will add a lot more longevity to the game and a lot more replayability. And the same goes for the player generated gameplay, or whatever that is. Is that going to be simply just more things that players can have mini games out of, or is it going to be a case of us actually being able to curate mini games completely ourselves? And then finally, the world option settings, more control over them. Well, they're already showing some of that off, so it looks like that's going to be added as part of the February update too. I showed this off recently, and you can see we can toggle things like having player damage, friendly fire, pet invincibility, hunger, thirst drain, and a lot more of these options. So effectively a proper sandbox mode where you can really adjust stuff, and that's definitely been needed. And although I said I don't think we're going to be seeing any actual action inside the shed, underneath the shed is a different matter. Underneath, it looks like they've been getting things ready for possibly more underground laboratories. You can see they've created these runways which weren't there before, little digs in the ground, and this normally means that something's happening, that they're going to be spending a lot more time doing something here. You can see this giant massive pit as well that they're obviously doing something with too. And then clearly this massive hole or entranceway. So this is kind of underneath the shed, isn't actually inside the shed itself. And then maybe the last of the guaranteed things we're going to be seeing in this update is movable or emotes for our armor stands. And this is great news. It means it pretty much can do the same thing as our characters, have these set up with armors and weapons on them, and it adds a lot more life to our bases to have these in different poses. This was shown off on Twitter recently, so I'm expecting this as part of the Termite update too. The other big thing to really get out of the way is Grounded actually going to be finished in 2022? And the short answer to that is no. I really don't see this game being completed and ready to go at 1.0. I think originally they said around 2 years in early access. Obviously, come the summer in July, it will be 2 years that the game is out, and I just don't feel like the game is going to be ready in that time. Not from the scale of the rest of the work to be done to the backyard. Now, they have said that they would maybe support the game after its launch, and it could mean that maybe some of the areas won't actually get done. Maybe they will launch it as a 1.0, but things like the giant massive hill next to the shed won't necessarily be done until next year. And likewise, lots of people are still excited about the possibility about going into the house, and we see the power cables going up to the satellite dish, and that could be a possibility. The devs didn't rule it out. But given they've been doing pretty much 3, possibly 4 major updates each year now, I think it'd be quite a lot to ask them to get it done by their 2-year anniversary, or indeed by the end of the year. So I'm looking at 2023 as when we'll actually see the game come out with early access completely. So that at the moment is the concrete info we know about what's happening with the next few months in Grounded. But what about the rest of the year then? What potentially could we see in maybe the summer update? Well, for starters, a whole bunch of laboratories that still haven't received any kind of love ever since the game first went live, including the one inside the flower bed. Now, we know there was a chip associated with this. It seems that has actually been utilised now. But yeah, we don't know a lot about these killer berries. I mean, they may be really super friendly, we're not 100% sure, but they definitely look scary, and we haven't seen any real other big references to them. Wendell's obviously been experimenting on lots of different creatures and foods. We know that he's mucking around with the sprouts to make the mussel sprouts, and we know that he's doing something with funguses and mushrooms as well, and obviously he's had a big issue trying to contain the black gooey substance that is pretty much trying to take over the whole yard. That infection has made certain creatures really super dangerous, as we saw on the Hot and Hazy update, with a lot of the creatures being added with definitely much more firepower. And then we've got the laboratories underneath the pagoda. There is something here as well that we aren't too sure what it's going to lead to, or what is it there for. Is it just simply a little Easter egg at the moment? Just give us a bit more clue. It could well be that lots of these laboratories won't actually receive any love or any kind of completion until the game is ready to go, and that's when we add stuff. But we get more clues about what's been happening, and is there potential for possibly spoons to be given sentient life? This is the second of maybe 4 laboratories or areas that definitely need a lot more love. We've then got the laboratories just underneath the oak tree in the pond laboratory with a strange button on it as well, seemingly opening in that door. Are we going to be able to go through that glass to do that? And is that going to lead to somewhere in the oak tree eventually? And not forgetting the laboratory that's at the top of the bush area in the hedge. This has kind of still been a bit unutilised. I think there might be like a molar in here now, and there used to be a note in here. But again, it seems like quite a big area, or they've gone to the effort of adding something here, but I never really finished it off. And then I guess at some point, possibly we've got the pond 2. Now we know this is a separate pond. It's clearly defined by the rocks that block it out, as well as the flower bed here as well. So this could all tie into one of them laboratories that when they do that, they'll actually work on this. And there's a whole bunch of water creatures and items that we still haven't seen added to the game. Again, look out for that second video on my second channel where I talk about this more in depth, but we still haven't seen the harpoon gun implemented properly. We still haven't seen water striders added to the game properly. There seemingly is a water breathing scuba mask that you can get in the game as well at some point too. And there's a few other little resources that haven't been fully added, as well as cattail sort of fluff. So that's all still to be added to the game eventually. So a pond version 2 could be potentially a good update for the summer. Give this area maybe an actual boss fight of some sort, and then that would leave maybe the winter update ready for this area here, like something going along in this big zone. And since it might come out in winter, again this is all just me talking and seeing between the lines, could we see potential for a cold biome of some sort? Maybe an upturned refrigeration unit giving ice blocks and stuff. We know that in the past they toyed around with defences like ice sort of traps that you could put down. And by looks of things, defences and stuff might be something they don't actually add to until the game is nearly complete. Then what about having a junkyard here filled with appliances, like I said, refrigeration units that give the whole area a cold or snowy or frosty biome appearance? And still a few things not finished, like this tunnel underneath the sandbox with a giant pebble blocking the way. Is that going to lead to a boss fight like I originally thought? That would be where we'd face off against the mantis. Again, using the cheats tool mod that you can get, you can see that there are some pieces called the mantis scythe, so it's looking likely to be another type of weapon or tool, as well as obviously a mantis boss note. So we definitely know there's going to be a mantis boss in the future. To me, a mantis is kind of more of a summertime creature, so I imagine that might be something we face off against in the summertime. But since they've added it now, there is potential it could be the boss fight that we come across in the actual termite hill. Also, amongst some of this stuff that I've shown off loads of times in the past, we still have the pheromones from the ants to go through, and we know that is actually on the actual features board, so we know that's something they want to do, and add in an ant queen. I kind of did assume that would be part of the black ant update when they got added to the trash zone and stuff, but it appears not. So we've got more work to do. We've got to get some sort of ant pheromone and then a machine to broadcast it to help maybe lure ants away. And at some point we're going to get a cozy meter added. This was shown off that you could apply, and it's pretty much something you see in lots of other games. How cozy your base is could give you some sort of buff. So if you've got lots of furniture, lots of insulation and stuff, or it's a complete full base, then you're going to get some sort of health buff or something like that. So I don't want to go over too much of the stuff in this video, at least stuff that may have been removed or not has been fleshed out properly. But if you go back to my older videos where I showcase some of the stuff that we sneaked and saw, then there's definitely potential for so much more to be added in 2022. Boomerangs, berry fists, and a whole lot more weapons and armor pieces. Maybe this stuff just hasn't worked out, or maybe it isn't the time to add it, hence why we haven't seen much of it since these teases a year ago. But we've still got things like the gum sword as well. Is that going to be a thing, like we make gum metal? From the time we actually first saw stuff like the mosquito needle, when I leaked it all to you guys first, it took about maybe 6 to 9 months before we actually saw it added to the game. So it could be a while before we see some of these other things, like I said, the gun metal sword added. And maybe lots of these ideas have been dropped and we've seen things like the antlion sword added instead. So there's no guarantee that they're still working on some of this stuff. But we know they do like to take their time with certain things, like the shields being added again. That was another feature that only really got added recently with the Weevil shields. Things like customization to our characters I can't see happening until full release. I think we're always going to have the main characters, but I do think we'll be able to change their poses, or at least certain clothing pieces maybe in the future. Back in the day I thought we was going to get another Evil Max character added, but it does look like this was just a way to show that maybe customization could be a thing in the future. more decor pieces that they spoke about in their roadmap. Then we know that they've tried messing around with rugs in the past, albeit a little bit too big. This is the B rug that they were working on ages and ages ago, obviously not fully finished. And just to give you a bit more of a hint or clue about them defences, as I showed off ages ago, which you can't really spawn these in that, it pretty much breaks the game. There is the ice traps and the honey traps. The honey ones will slow you down, the ice ones make you go forward really super quickly, and then we've also got the things like the catapult. And like I said, this is the stuff I'm really excited about, seeing some of these defences added to the game, giving us more of a reason to worry about attacks from creatures trying to get at us for whatever reason. Is it just because of food or other reasons? And we've got to set up our defences properly. So yeah, I reckon some of this stuff we won't see until the end of the year possibly. If they do manage to squeeze in actual 4 updates instead of just 3, then this might be something we see added in towards the end. At the moment we've only got 2 bosses in the game, so the addition of the Mantis as a boss would be great, and maybe some others in the future. We're still hoping that Wasps are going to be added since they've been in the key art for such a long time, or possibly even Hornets. And that's pretty much it for this video. I didn't want to overload it with features that have been removed or have been teased or been leaked before that we don't have guarantees from. That's, I would say, a conservative guess about what could potentially come into Grounded in 2022. I'm sure it's going to blow my mind what they can achieve and what else they can actually get added to the game in that time. But like I said, that's what I feel is a safe bet to what to expect. 3 major updates, then 3 areas I've highlighted being worked on, and then maybe a revisit of some of the environments or laboratories that we haven't seen finished off yet. So what do you guys think about 2022? What features do you want to see added? We know that they are really responsive. They added roly-polies and black ants because the community asked for it. So we're hopefully going to get more variations and additions because the community have suggested that stuff. And the final plug, go and subscribe to my Jadecraft channel. I've already got some grounded gameplay videos on there, I've already got a few news videos in the past, and I'm going to be devoting a lot more time and attention to it in the future. We're nearly at 1,000 subscribers, and I desperately want you guys to go follow, because that is where the home of Grounded is going to be in the future. I will still upload an occasional video for the main channel, talking about like all the stuff that's happened in one update or big news about release dates, but for guides and gameplay, it's all going to be on the Jadecraft channel. I love Grounded, but I can't always devote one game to my main channel anymore. I can't always just cover that one game. And I think Grounded's big and unique enough that I could cover a lot more on the second channel. I've still got other games going, crafty games, farming games and more on the second channel, but you can definitely see a lot more Grounded content. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you ratbags later.